Good evening and welcome to Here's My Two Cents with me, your host, Keith Two Cents Sanders. First, I was alluding to it just a moment ago. Right America Media had an amazing week last week. We went to CPAC in Orlando, Florida. Why Orlando, Florida, you might say? Because Washington, D.C. is an absolute nightmare, and Orlando, Florida is where you go if you want to do anything right now. Ron DeSantis has opened up this state. I'll get into more of that later. And we were able to host it. We did it responsibly. We had a good time. We were able to actually live our lives. While we were there, things went crazy for Right America Media. It was so exciting when we were live, and I'm going to get into this more later. When we were live, and I'm actually live right now with followers on TikTok. I love seeing you all over here. Thank you so much. We were live from inside the ballroom with number 45. We didn't know when he was going to be coming on. So myself and Josh Barnes, and we're getting into everybody else who was there. Everyone was working together to make sure that we were putting on a good show. While we were live and inside at CPAC, things just went absolutely crazy for our site. And I really just want to make sure that I say thank you to everyone that was involved. I'll get more into the particulars of who a little bit later. We absolutely blew up the whole time we were there. Our followers, our subscribers, the viewers that we were holding. We had over 10,000 people over here on TikTok. I think we were carrying 3,500 people on our platforms. And I am so thankful for everyone who came along. And this goes right into something that I've been pitching on this show since I started, which is to say we need to make sure that we continue to support the small conservative outlets, especially over here on TikTok or on other social media. Make sure that the word is getting heard. Make sure that when you see someone that you agree with, comment, like, share. Make sure that word is getting out. We're all seeing this cancel culture. I mean, they came for Dr. Seuss. What are they going to do to you and I? Dr. Seuss was actually quite liberal. I am not. You might not be either. What are they going to do to us? We have to make sure that we continue to support ourselves. We had a great time at CPAC. There was a lot of support going around. I have a lot of stories from behind the scenes. We're going to go into that a lot tonight. I just really want to nail down that we have to support each other and we have to make sure that this conservative word continues to get out. Okay. Plugs aside, make sure you follow me aside. With all that being said, let's get into the meat of this week. RAMtv invades CPAC, and I do mean that. And we heard there were some other people there. We could probably talk about them a little bit too. There's big trouble in New York for Cuomo. Legislation, including H.R. 1 and COVID relief, makes its way from the House over to the Senate. And with that being said, here's my 2 cents on distract and conquer. That is certainly a play on the term of divide and conquer. You could easily replace distract with divide. We see it each and every day. There is always a way for them to distract us in order to keep us from looking at what we actually want to look at. I'm going to hit a topic real quick. Maybe I'll spend a little bit more time with it. Something that wasn't going to be on this week, but I saw something about it right before we went on, and it got me hot. It got me absolutely hot. So this is going to be a hot take from 2 Cent. If you didn't know, our National Guard is still stationed at the Capitol. January 6th happened a long time ago. It was wrong. I have denounced it time and time again. It should not have happened. I will continue to denounce it and make no excuses for it. It should have never happened. It should never, ever happen again. That being said, it was a complete knee-jerk reaction to bring in the National Guard. Now that they are there, they have to be guards for the Capitol, and they have to guard a barrier around that Capitol. This got me so hot because these are our men and women who are citizen soldiers who have raised their right hand to protect the United States from all and the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. There was nothing to defend up there. Let's do an exact swap and say what would have happened if Donald J. Trump had brought in the National Guard to protect the Capitol. The sight of that would have been used to show him as a tyrant, to show him as a dictator. This would be a threat to our democracy, which they love to scream all the time. This is the stuff of tyrants. And this barrier, another word for that is a wall. So it's absolutely amazing that we have a situation where you have a wall around the Capitol, around people who say that walls don't work. This absolutely has me infuriated. And I normally like to stay cool, calm, and collected, but having been in the service and seeing our brothers and sisters who have to leave their families behind, leave their children behind, leave their lives behind to go protect these people who don't like them, who vetted them before they even allowed them to start protecting them, who put up a wall to protect themselves, I'm hot. I'm hot on this one. Fortunately, my governor is a great governor, Ron DeSantis. I triple checked this before I came on. He recalled his National Guard to make sure that his people were being taken care of. They are home here in Florida. Put pressure on your political leaders. There is no reason for this to be happening. Let's just take that quick swap. Let's say it was Trump. We'd be furious, right? Wouldn't everybody be furious if Trump had surrounded himself with 25,000 troops and put a wall around the Capitol? Well, it applies here too. There is absolutely no reason this should be going on anymore. Where's our good friends in the media? Nobody's even covering it. They're not even talking about it. There's just a little bit of a snippet here and a snippet there in the sense that they're going to be extended now. Now the police are saying they want them to stay there longer because of the possibility of threats of violence, because of the possibility that these might get a lot worse. Now, I was told under good authority, and guys, normally I'm a lot calmer. I really am, and I think you know that. This one's got me going. I was told on good authority that when you bring in federal troops, it actually makes the situation a lot worse. Juan, if you can for me real quick, can you play cut 7?
I gotta say,
federal agents sent to restore order in Portland have poured petrol on disorder. What was a largely peaceful protest has escalated into violence. The main battle line is here, outside the federal courthouse. Protesters unable to pull down the new fence throw fireworks over. Tear gas is fired back. Many here are prepared for this. But as federal agents emerge in their dozens, those in gas masks run too. Rubber bullets fired into the darkness. It's quite frightening.
This isn't the first time tear gas has been fired at protesters tonight, but it's the first time we've seen federal agents outside of the federal courthouse. And it's the first time that it's driven crowds away, but it doesn't look like they've gone. Certainly, it doesn't seem like either side is going to give up anytime soon.
So there you have it. It gets a lot worse, right? It gets worse when you bring in the federal troops. That very intelligent person from England, presumably, land of freedom, came over here with our freedom of speech to talk about what she wanted to talk about. And then she wants to spill that if you bring in federal troops, it's going to get a lot worse, right? You heard the lady. You heard her say it poured petrol. That's their word for gasoline. Poured petrol on the fire. Things were just fine as they were firing fireworks into that federal building. It only got worse when the federal troops got there. Why doesn't that apply universally? Why don't we have the situation where you brought 25,000 troops in, and you better believe when the Guard gets called up, they're now under federal control. The Guard got called up. Why is that not pouring petrol on the situation? Why is it not getting worse? Maybe because the people that they're to protect against realized what happened on January 6th was wrong. Nobody wants to be a part of it, and everyone has gone home. There should be more violence. Why doesn't it apply? There's federal forces there. You don't know why? You want to know why they're still there? It's another distraction. I know I said that they're not really keeping tabs on it, but the idea that they are there is just yet another form of a distraction of what's happening actually inside those walls. And we're going to get into that more later. Okay. 2 Cent, calm down. Whew. I got hot today. That one had me going. We got better news. Let's hard shift. Come with me. We got better news. I alluded to it earlier. I talked to K-Soak a little bit about it. RAMtv.Live, Right America Media, absolutely invaded CPAC. What is CPAC? The Conservative Political Action Conference happens every year. It's supposed to happen in Washington, D.C. However, Washington is an absolute nightmare, as I just showed you, under federal rule right now. Oh, don't do it again. Okay, we're going to go forward. Here we go. While we were there, we did absolutely invade it. I've got a great bonus cut for you. Juan, if you're ready, can you please play that bonus cut I sent to you?
United States, you won't do it.
Jim,
I wish you all the best.
Part in dividing this country, Jim.
Yeah.
What's your part in that? What's your part in all that fake news and your Russian collusion that you went on with about 3 years, Jim?
I wish you all the best.
All that evidence that you had, Jim, where did it show up? When did it show up? What's your part in what happened on January 6th? We all didn't. Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Is this guy? This guy was in there. We saw good old Jim Acosta. I was there with Caitlin Bennett. Well, we weren't necessarily together, but Caitlin Bennett, you can see her microphone is there from Liberty Hangout. Check her out. She's fantastic. And we were giving Jim Acosta a little bit of his own medicine. We wanted to see how he liked it. And you know what? He didn't really like it, but that was your boy. I actually had that live. I went live on TikTok over here. I think we had about 1,500 people watching that day. It was absolutely fantastic. However, for some weird reason, it did not record. And I was really bummed about it because my lives are supposed to record. I was going to take it down, chop it up, and show you guys some fun clips from it. But for some reason, it didn't record. I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist, but they totally took it away from me. I'm just kidding, but seriously, they did. So I was super happy when someone tagged me in it. So somebody else had the video, and then somebody that recognized me actually from over here on TikTok, they actually tagged me in it. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so crazy that somebody found me and said, hey, that's my boy, 2 Cent. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. We had a ton of fun while we were there. Jim Acosta came more than once. Keith Hansen, who was also down with us, he had a fun interaction with Jim Acosta as well. Make sure you go over to Right America Media on Facebook. That goes for you guys over here as well. Right America Media on Facebook. Check out, we have a lot of videos up there for you. Also, Right America Media on YouTube. Like I said, Keith Hansen had a nice interaction with Jim Acosta. Savvy Truth was there. She had some really good interviews. I'll get more into that here shortly. I had a lot of fun with that. I absolutely could not believe that somebody had a recording of it and then somebody else actually recognized me and tagged me in it. That was super fun. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Into CPAC itself. What a weekend. What a weekend. We got there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We had folks come in from New Hampshire and Virginia. I was there from Florida. We had folks in from Texas. I'm telling you, CPAC was invaded by Right America Media, RAMtv.Live. When we were there, we actually did a lot of networking. It's sort of a networking event, but not in a sense of self-promotion. It was pretty quick to see that everyone that was there was trying to grow the message. Yes, everyone wants to grow their site. Everyone wants to grow their portion. But I got a sense pretty quickly that we weren't all there to fight over the same crumb out of the pie that is completely owned by the liberal media. We were there to grow and to empower, to steal a liberal's word, the voices and to push them up and to elevate them up. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Another thing that I was seeing from days 1 and 2, and obviously day 3 is going to be its own topic. And if you don't know why, 45 was there. But we're going to separate it out, day 1 and 2, then we'll go into day 3. Throughout day 1 and day 2, I had a lot of conversations with people. So we had a lot of interviews. I want you guys to go over to Right America Media on Facebook. You too, Right America Media on Facebook. Also check out Right America Media on YouTube. We have all of our videos from the past weekend. There's a lot of interviews on there, and I want you guys to go check it out. But some of it was just having good conversation with folks. I can think of no less than 20 different times over Friday and Saturday, I had a conversation that went something along the lines of, it's really nice to be able to express my opinions and not be afraid. I really want that to sink in. I was talking to young people from college all the way up to folks that were in their 70s and 80s and everything in between. And at least 20 times I had a conversation with somebody who, unsolicited from me, said something to the tune of, it's really nice to be able to express my opinions without fear. That is a really scary situation for people to be in. I was talking to people from liberal colleges, liberal cities, and they said they couldn't even put anything out of what they felt or why. The public square is completely gone to them. They have no voice without fear of reprisal, without fear of violence. And not the violence that the left wants to talk about where speech is violence, true violence. being attacked for what they believe in, for putting forward their ideas, for debating, for dissenting with what the left has said. It was quite saddening. It was quite saddening. Young people saying, it's so amazing to be with like-minded people. I am completely surrounded with people from the left who do not allow for dissenting opinions. It was downright heartbreaking. Lots of some more fun. Day two started out. We were in there. We had some interviews set up, and we were setting up for how we were going to do some more cross platforming. So I was going to meet with some people from the other platforms, and we were going to sort of all mix together. Well, I guess the word got out. The word got out that Right America Media was there, and everybody wanted a piece of Right America Media. If you don't know, we have an absolutely great lineup of people that all came down. Savvy from The Savvy Truth, and you all can check her out on YouTube, The Savvy Truth. You can also check her out here on Right America Media. Talented young lady, extremely intelligent. She had an amazing interview with Kevin Sorbo. If you don't know who that is, God's Not Dead. He's also from Hercules from back in the day. If you've got enough gray hairs like me, you might remember Hercules. She had an amazing interview with him, and then also Sam Sorbo, who is married to Kevin Sorbo. Go check them out on Right America Media on Facebook or Right America Media on YouTube, and she did an absolutely wonderful job. I had an opportunity to interview a former state senator named Frank Lassay from Minnesota. He's out there giving another approach to what CO2 does to our environment. To remain objective, I didn't necessarily agree with everything that he had to say, but you know your boy 2 Cent. You know I'm going to be objective to a point. And you know, I'm definitely going to be transparent with you. I make my jokes. I do try to stay transparent. I can't stand when people say the term, to be honest with you, because that means that everything I said until now I was dishonest. So I like to remain transparent with you. In this interview, I didn't necessarily agree with what he was presenting. I gave him a platform. It doesn't mean that I validate what he had to say, but I gave him an opportunity to say his part. And then I had my part. And then people had their own opportunity to make their own decisions. Far too often we hear on the left, don't validate what they're saying by giving them a platform. Absolutely validate their right to say it. Bring them on. Disagree with them. Have civil discourse. Have them present their data. You present yours. They can present their opinion. You present yours. It's amazing. It's crazy. I know. I don't know why anybody would subscribe to it. It sounds insane to me. Maybe we can write it down on a piece of paper. We can even call it a right. I don't know. Maybe we'll give everyone the same opportunity. Day two, complete whirlwind. I think I got there a little bit late. I'm never late. I was so disappointed I was late that day. It was such a long day the day before. These are all excuses. I had no reason to be late. Juan, the producer, I apologize to you one more time. I was late. I'm never late. I was so disheartened. I woke up. My wife woke me up and said, "What time are you supposed to leave?" I looked at her and said, "Let me get my life together. I have no idea what's going on." It took me a couple minutes. I got my life together and I realized I was running late. Okay, so my apologies aside. Juan, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. So we get there. I'm a little bit late. I look down. We're heads down. Everyone's killing it. We're working technical. We're working behind the scenes. We're doing an interview. We're pulling people in. People are asking us questions. We're having tons of conversation. We're making sure that we're doing great interviews. The whole team came together, and I look up. It's 2:30. It was crazy. I look down, heads down, making things happen. It's 2:30. I haven't eaten yet. I think Josh Barnes was probably the only one who ate. He's going to tell you that he didn't. Josh, I'm going to have to get you every time, buddy. Every time. You can come back later at me if you'd like. Real quick, let me put the thank yous out there that I had promised. We had Savvy from The Savvy Truth, who did an absolutely wonderful job. I want you all check her out on YouTube, The Savvy Truth. And then we had Shannon, who came in as well. She was such a huge help. And I really, really liked the fact that she was so welcoming. And I really appreciate you, Shannon. Thank you so much for coming out. We had the Barnes boys, who, of course, were off doing their own thing. I'm not sure. Justin contributed like a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. Check them out. They have a show as well called The Point of View. You can get them on Right America Media. They give a Christian point of view to the world events that are happening. They're both great guys. I tease them because it's easy. That's why I do it. It says nothing to me. Then we had Keith Hansen as well, who runs his own show on Right America Media. Great guy, wealth of knowledge. He imparted a lot of it upon me. I really appreciate that time as well with you, Keith Hansen. And then, of course, to the man, the myth, the legend, Juan Gowd, the great guy who started this whole platform. I thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much. All right. So all the smooches aside, I got to talk about something kind of serious. On day 2, the word started getting out that I'm not going to say their names, a 3-letter protest group and a group that is anti-something were outside. Word started getting out that they were out there. And I paid it no never mind, just as long as they weren't coming inside. I will say I felt that the security there was a little lax. I didn't want to say it at the time because I didn't want to draw attention to myself, but I felt it was a little lax. So I was a little uneasy that this 3-letter anti group outside, if they really wanted to push, they could have potentially gotten inside. I'm glad it didn't happen. Here's where I'm going with all this. When I found out that they were out there, I had to go to my team and say, listen, if anything crazy kicks off, I have to go the other direction. That's not to say that I'm scared. That's not to say that I'm not there to be a journalist or anything of the like. I just can't be a part of anything if it kicks off. I have a family to take care of. God forbid I'm in the background of somebody's Instagram picture when there's a fight going on at a political event. And that's terrible. I'm there with a media outlet. I had a press badge on. I'm also a citizen. I have a freedom of speech. I can be a citizen journalist. I can go forward and say what is happening. I have an outlet. I have the means with which to tell a story. However, like I was talking about earlier with especially the younger college age people, I have to be afraid. I have to be afraid if something kicks off, I can't even be around it. I would, of course, not participate in it. And I denounce all violence. I wouldn't encourage it, but I couldn't even be in there trying to stop it because I'd be afraid of what would come for me. That's really disheartening. That's really scary. I didn't want to tell the people that I'm with, hey, if something kicks off, I got to go that way. That's awful. I was really sad about that. I don't know how you all feel about that, but that's something that I just feel is awful, that we have to be afraid if we actually are in a press, and I am. It's a little strange for me to say because I'm still new to this, being transparent. But I felt terrible that I had to say that. And this is a deep reflection of what's happening in this culture right now. You have one side that can say whatever they want. And I'm looking at you, Joy Reid. Look up some of the things she has said recently. I don't even want to say it out there because it's so awful. Joy Reid from MSNBC has said that conservatives want to say the worst word. I won't even abbreviate it for you. She says that conservatives will give up all the tax cuts in the world to be able to say the worst word. Well, given that the worst word is directed towards one group, you'd have to eliminate that group from her term conservatives, and you'd have to eliminate other minorities from her term conservative. So you know who she's talking about. The evil patriarchy, the cisgendered white male. So she could say that I want to be able to say the worst word out there, and that's my real problem in life. That's my real problem. What's going on? It's disgusting. It's horrific. But at the same time, I have to be worried of what would happen to me if I were to report on something. This is what we're facing. This is why when they tell us that there is no cancel culture, this is what we're talking about. So I'm going to try to give a voice to it. I don't have a huge voice. I've got some good followers over here. I appreciate you being here. I've got some followers on here. I'm going to continue to give a voice to this. Let's get back to some fun. Let's get away from this. We're going to have some fun. Day 3 kicks off. What's happening on day 3? What's happening on day 3? The man is coming. Number 45 is going to be there. Now, day 1 and day 2 were pretty subdued. It was a little strange. It was kind of a feeling of what's going to happen. Is he going to come? He's going to come. What's going to happen while he's here? There's protesters outside. Is anything crazy going to kick off? It was kind of subdued. Sunday kind of dropped a little bit more, but something amazing happened. Josh Barnes, from the point of view, secures us 2 passes to go inside the ballroom. Juan and Josh take off. They go inside. They get us set up. They did an amazing job. We get an opportunity to go inside. We are inside. It was absolutely amazing. Later, it was amazing. When I first got in there, energy was kind of low. But we go live. We go live and we start showing what's happening. That's when our viewership starts going up. People were clamoring for any information on Trump. This is something I've been talking about for some time, and I don't want to say I worry because it would help us, but the media might be turning him into a martyr. They might be turning him into a situation where people are going to continue to seek him out and see the media as the bad guy, social media as the bad guy, big tech as the bad guy. Because if we have anything on Trump on the inside, our viewership goes crazy. So we were there. So we turned on the cameras. The live that I had over here had over 10,000 people watch it. We were holding 3,500 people across our platforms. That's huge for us. We're a tiny outlet. And our subs, I think, went over 2,000 during that time. And I want to thank all of you for it. Thank all of you that came along with us. It was absolutely fantastic. Of course, Trump was there. But if you didn't know it, other than your boy 2 Cent and other than number 45, there were some other speakers there. One in particular I was not happy with, and I will be transparent with you here. That was with Ted Cruz. If you did not get a chance to see his speech, I'll give you an excerpt here in a minute. But it was no meat, no substance. And it was basically a bad comedy act. Let's just get right into it. Juan, can you please play for me cut 4?
I gotta say, Orlando is awesome. It's not as nice as Cancun. But it's nice. And I gotta say, what an amazing array of speakers here at CPAC. For a second there, I thought we were in Des Moines. That one took people a minute. So what do we do? What do we do at a time where the hard left is resurgent? 2 very simple things. Number 1, we defend liberty. Look, are there tensions in our party? Sure, because we believe in diversity. We believe in individuality. Different people have different views. I'll tell you what can unite conservatives and libertarians and those who value the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is a love of liberty.
There's a lot of meat on that bone. A lot of meat on that bone. There's a lot of bad jokes. If you didn't know the Des Moines, Iowa joke, he was saying that it was every year or every 4 years when the presidential election kicks off, everybody goes to Iowa first. Just bad jokes. Yeah, he wanted to make light of the Cancun thing. Good for you. What did we get? We got platitudes. Big word of the day. Platitudes. We're going to fight. Great, Ted. How? We're going to fight for liberty. Okay, Ted. How? Liberty is important. Cool, Ted. Cool. Buddy, what are you going to do? You're in the Senate. You have a 50-50. Are you going to protect the filibuster? What's the filibuster? The filibuster, as the Democrats will say, is a way for Republicans to keep laws from passing. The reality is it was a way to keep tyranny of the majority from happening. It's something we talk about a lot on here. Tyranny of the majority is when you're in a pure democracy, which we're not. We're in a constitutional republic. But when you're in a pure democracy, when 51% of the people want your bike, they take your bike. The filibuster was there to ensure that there was some level of bipartisanship, that the sides would work together. You have to have 67 votes from the Senate out of 100 in order to pass these laws, which means you have to work together. Democrats want to get rid of this filibuster. Why? Because they're sitting at a 50-50 with a tiebreak of Kamala Harris. So they could pass any and everything that they would possibly want. I have expectations from senators. Ted, I have an expectation of you. What are you doing other than telling us bad jokes? Telling us bad jokes and giving us absolutely no meat on that bone. None. None whatsoever. Now let's compare him and his speech to Governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. Juan, please play cut 5.
But not everyone has followed this path. For those of you who don't know, South Dakota is the only state in America that never ordered a single business or church to close. We never instituted a shelter-in-place order. We never mandated that people wear masks. We never even defined what an essential business is, because I don't believe that governors have the authority to tell you that your business isn't essential. Now, South Dakota schools are no different than schools everywhere else in America. but we approached the pandemic differently. From the earliest days of the pandemic, our priority was the students, their well-being, and their education. When it was time to go back to school in the fall, we put our kids in the classroom.
That's meat on the bone. That's meat on the bone. Kristi Noem. Watch out for Kristi Noem. Watch out for her. She actually started off with a joke herself that said, let's be honest, a year ago, none of you knew who I was. That's Kristi Noem. That's meat on the bone. There's something when you're giving an interview, if you guys can take this forward, if you ever go into a job interview, it's called the STAR method. It's called specific, task, action, result. And that's exactly what she did there. She was specific. She talked about what the task was, the action she took, and the result of it. Absolutely fantastic. Just taking her, putting her next to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz in the Senate, talking in complete platitudes. And then you have Kristi Noem from the executive branch in South Dakota. Now, let's be transparent when it comes to this as well. I'm not going to say let's be honest, right? I'm going to say let's be transparent. She never closed down and she didn't have a mask mandate. However, in South Dakota, they don't have nearly the population or the population density of, say, Florida or Texas, California, New York. Why does that matter? We do know that in more dense places, you're going to have more likelihood of the spread. So these are factors that we have to take into account. I just want to make sure that I'm transparent here that yes, while she didn't do these things, she can't necessarily say that it wasn't the right decision in other places for any level. But what it does tell us is that federalism works. What is federalism? Something we talk about a lot on here. It's getting the most bang for your buck at the lowest possible level, and that may mean all the way down to you, the individual. Top-down approaches to government do not work. When you make one sweeping action for an entire country as large as ours, as actually diverse as ours, and as spread out as we are, with massive differences just in Florida alone. Central Florida is completely different than coastal Florida. Southern Florida is completely different than the Panhandle. So DeSantis said, I can't possibly tell everyone what to do with one decision from Tallahassee. I will give it to my municipalities. I will give it to my counties and my cities for them to make the decisions at the lowest level possible. They know their people. They know the situation. So she showed us that you can be successful in different areas doing things different ways. I really want you to keep an eye on her. There were other presenters that were there. I would say a great deal of them, there was no meat. A great deal. I was disappointed. I would say a lot of it was liberals bad, Dems are mean, they're taking your country. How about some direction? How about some possible solutions? How about some leadership? Leadership, you say, 2 Cent? Leadership, you say? Is there anyone we know that demonstrates more leadership than number 45? That day was subdued when it started. And then as it went on, which I'm talking day 3, Kristi Noem went earlier, and so did Cruz. But on day 3, let's get back to day 3. The energy was low. Jim Jordan came out, popped the crowd. Your boy was live over here talking to 10,000 people. So I didn't really get to hear what Jim Jordan was saying, but the electricity in the room started to go up. The energy in the room started to go up. And everybody knew if Jim Jordan was now, number 45 was coming up. So we're having a good time on the live over here. We're talking to over 10,000 people. People were running over to Right America Media. I want to see all of you on Right America Media on Facebook. Everything started kicking off. Things started going insane. Everything was going great. Now let's take what Cruz said. Let's take what Noem said, and let's put that up next to number 45. Juan, please play cut 46. I'm sorry, cut 6. Sorry about that, cut 6. You know,
all the way in the back.
There we go.
Blue sweater.
That's okay. We'll get to that in a second. Let's see if we can pull it up. It's the one with Trump's speech. So if you guys can get that going in the background.
That's why I'm announcing that I will be actively working to elect strong, tough, and smart Republican leaders. We want Republican leaders who are loyal to the voters and who will work proudly for the vision that I've laid out today. And what is it? So simple, right? So simple. Military, law and order, great trade deals, great education. So simple. Does anybody get it? What are they?
You miss him. I miss him. I missed him. I missed him. It was great to be in there. It was great to be in the room. And there was meat there. He gave a way forward. He said we have to vote in strong conservative Republicans. Those are actually going to represent us. Why is that important? It's not just 2024, folks. We have 2022. There's a narrow lead for the Democrats in the House, and it's a 50-50 in the Senate. We could take both those chambers back. So if any of this wild and crazy legislature that they're trying to push through, this legislation that they're trying to push through gets through, and we could take back the House and the Senate, which is what Trump is talking about here, which is the meat on the bone that he's talking about right here, we can get that crazy legislation gone. Whatever they put in place, and I'll talk about HR 1 here in a bit and the implications that has going forward, if they're able to get HR 1, which is massive reform to the way that we do voting, if we can get 2022 back, which is what he's talking about here. I'm sorry, in 2022, if we can get the Congress back, both chambers, we can get rid of this. We can get rid of, and I'll tell you what HR 1 here is in a little bit. Something else that he did, man, is always power moves, power moves, power moves. He named names. He went after those that went after him. He also let them know, hey, by the way, I'm almost undefeated in my endorsements. I think he lost one race between Congress and the Senate. He's almost undefeated. And he's letting them know, you're not getting an endorsement. McConnell, I'm not so sure you're good to go. You got another 6 years. I know that, buddy. But Cheney, you got a problem coming up for you. You got a serious problem. To remain transparent, something I didn't like about his speech, and it was interesting because I just leaned over to my co-host, Josh Barnes, and said, I'm kind of glad that he's not going over the accusations or the alleged voter fraud. I'm saying that specifically on purpose. And he said, yeah, it's time for us to look forward. And immediately, Trump went into it. Immediately. It was like as if on cue. I wasn't there to relitigate. I'm not 100% on everything that the president has always said. I was ready to be looking forward. I saw that he was looking forward when he was talking about 2022. I saw that he was looking forward when he said we have to put in the strong conservatives, and I will be endorsing strong conservatives, and that we could take the House and the Senate back. Some more meat that he did put on there, though, when he talked about what happened in the last election was we're not just going to dwell on it. What can we do going forward? We have to have voter ID. We have to have signature matching. We have to have one-day vote, not this 3-4 month long and everything by mail. He talks about pushing back on our state leaders because we can do that at the state level. And that the fact, like I've mentioned before, we could take back the Congress in 2022. Just to recap that day, the excitement was through the roof. Everyone was very excited to see him again. I would say that he was relaxed. He was having fun again with the crowd, and he was really having a good time. We've talked a lot about CPAC, so let's go to some other topics here for a little bit. You go from Trump, the evildoer that he is, to his foil, his nemesis, the antithesis to Trump, which is, that's big word of the day number 2, to New York governor, the great, the Emmy award-winning governor for his daytime briefings of truth and justice and transparency, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. So now we have not one, we have two, not two, we have 3 allegations. So I want to know, where's believe all women? He says that due process is necessary. Where was that due process for Justice Kavanaugh? Where was that? Oh, by the way, where's Me Too? Where are you? Where are those feminists? Where are you? Where are the feminist Gillibrand from your state? Where are you? Hillary, where are you? Kamala, where are you? This brings me back, and if you guys are old enough to remember, this brings me back to Bill Clinton. There was a saying, I'm going to paraphrase, where people in his administration, the females in his administration, said, he's a slime bag. Yeah, but he's our slime bag. Got that again, right? He's our slime bag. Vote blue no matter who, right? Right? Let's go in that way back machine. I swear the liberals and the Democrats think that we don't have access to the internet. Or like Joe Biden said, maybe some of us don't know how to use the internet. But we can use the internet. And there were some fun prognostications. Big word of the day number 3. Some of them did not age so well. Why? Can you please play for me cut 2?
All right, brace yourself for this one. We're getting a little bit of intel into what a Biden cabinet could potentially look like. And one of the names that is apparently being floated and getting a lot of buzz for AG is the one and only Andrew Cuomo. A few things. Obviously, Cuomo shot to resistance liberal hero status for his press conferences during coronavirus, even as the actual decisions that he made, from delaying shutdown to what he did with nursing homes and moving COVID patients into nursing homes and protecting them from any liability, actually led to increased death in the state of New York. Not blaming him all for it, but we can't say that his decision making was good in that regard. The fact that I don't know if he'll actually be picked, kind of makes some sense, given apparently he and Biden have a real affinity for each other. Biden sees himself, reportedly, according to Axios, aspects of himself in Governor Cuomo. But it tells you the type of people that they are thinking of staffing up this administration.
There you go. They have a strong affinity for each other. Which part specifically, Joe? Which part of you do you see in Andrew Cuomo, who now has 3 allegations against him? And I've been told they're all credible. I've been told every allegation is credible. So which part exactly? Which part of you do you see him? How amazing was it for this person on here to say, well, there's some stories about the COVID situation. You can't really blame him for it. Can't really blame him for it. The guy who made the decision. Can't really blame that guy for it. Right? You really can't blame him. There were other people that did what he told them to do. Can't blame that guy. It's just gross. It's incompetent. And I want to know, does that feed into him allegedly thinking he could do whatever he wants with women? When you make terrible, terrible decisions that cost lives, does that feed you and say, I can do what I want, when I want? This is just malfeasance. Big word number 4. We're going crazy with the big words today. You know, before I spout off any more words, Juan, play for me cut 3. Let's hear the apology.
I understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it. I feel awful about it, and frankly, I am embarrassed by it. And that's not easy to say, but that's the truth. But this is what I want you to know, and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never knew at the time that I was making anyone feel uncomfortable. I never knew at the time I was making anyone feel uncomfortable. And I certainly never, ever meant to offend anyone or hurt anyone or cause anyone any pain.
I feel better. Do you feel better? New Yorkers, do you feel better? I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. Not an apology. It's not me or my actions. It's how you feel. Not an apology. I'm sorry for how you feel. Not an apology. Here's what an apology is. An apology has to have 2 parts to it. It has to be unsolicited, which means nobody asked you for it, and it has to be sincere. I did this. I should not have. Apology. I did this. You felt that way. I'm sorry for how you feel. Not an apology. I'm sorry I did this, but here's why I did it. Certainly not an apology. That's an excuse. If you ever hear anybody say, I'm sorry I did this, but here's why I did it, that's an excuse. He at least didn't go that far. But to say, I'm sorry how you feel, and I never knew I was making someone feel uncomfortable, isn't that a little bit of victim blaming? Does that apply both directions? Does that only apply to people that the left doesn't like? Kind of feels like it's not me, it's you. It kind of feels like nobody told me not to. It kind of feels like you should have known, Governor Cuomo. It kind of feels like you need to be a little more woke and available and understanding. And I feel like you actually need to apologize. We can't have real apologies because then that might be an admission of guilt. That would be absolutely, absolutely horrible. This is an easy one. This is an absolute slam dunk. Replace him for any Republican. What happens? Wall-to-wall coverage. Non-stop coverage. Off with his head. Get him out yesterday, a year ago, and take out his whole family. Everyone that's ever known him. Deplatform all of them. But Mr. Cuomo, Andrew, buddy, booby, name the movie. Things aren't looking good for you, buddy. The sharks are circling. Your allies, they're not only fleeing, they're nipping at you. They're the sharks. There's blood in the water, buddy. Letitia James, your AG, Democrat who hates Trump, found that you reportedly, allegedly, underreported your COVID-related deaths in the nursing homes by some 50%. De Blasio, the bum that he is, he's looking for your job. Letitia James, she's looking for your job. They want your job, buddy. And while CNN will barely cover it, when we were at CPAC, I forgot the guy's name, but someone from the Federalist was directly asking Acosta if they were going to cover it. And you can hear your boy 2 Cent in the background giving him the business on that one too. And Acosta was claiming that they were covering it. Go to CNN. It's one little tiny link at the bottom right. There's picture, headline all over the place. One tiny little line over here about Cuomo. That's their coverage. And then his brother, Fredo, gets up there and says, well, I can't possibly cover him. He's my brother. Well, where was that back in March when you were dubbing him the Love Gov? Where was it when you were doing prop comedy with him? This is another distract and conquer situation. These allegations are what they are talking about when it comes to Andrew Cuomo, not the COVID-related deaths, not his COVID-related failures. Another distract and conquer of the situation. Should he go down in this situation, it'll be for the allegations. It'll not be for COVID. It'll not be for his response to COVID, because you remember, he was the antithesis to Trump. He was clear. He was concise. He had a plan. He was following the science. The media told us. And they're not going to give misinformation and disinformation, right? They told us that he was doing it right. He wrote a book about it. They were trying to run him for president because Joe Biden was such a strong candidate. This is the distract and conquer yet again. There's no way that they could possibly admit that their coverage was wrong. There's no way they could possibly admit that the way they did it in New York didn't work and it wasn't right. If he does go down, it's going to be for these Me Too violations. Another way this is distract and conquer is his troubles are distracting us from what's actually happening in Congress. I told you I'd talk about this a little bit later about H.R. 1. What is H.R. 1? It's called the For the People Act. What a great name. What a great name. They are so good at using great names. Who doesn't want something that's for the people? It's for the people. It's got to be amazing. Names are so important in what they do. Okay, yeah, who cares? What's in it? Man, but I like the way this sounds. But what's in it? Let's tell you what's in it. Massive overreach and overhaul to voting. So the Democrats have looked at the electorate and said, you know, polling shows us a majority of all Americans do not trust the voting process. What should we do about it? I know, let's centralize it in DC and take over complete control. Let's lower the voting age to 16. That won't have any impacts. You're going to bring in an entire population of 16 and 17-year-olds who are 100% reliant on other people providing for them. Who do you think they're going to vote for? A government that says they're going to provide everything for them, or a government that says we're going to give you every opportunity to take care of yourself and to pursue your own version of happy? Which one do you think they're going to go for? There's going to be no impact there. They want to give felons their right to vote back. People who follow me have pushed back on that. I don't support it. There are some things that have to have long-lasting effects for what you do. And there'll be no impact to that either. There'll be no impact to how voting is done there. They want mail-in ballots pretty much universally. We saw what happened in 2020. There's a lot of people who are really secure in how they feel about elections due to mail-ins. There'll be no impact there as well, and no signature matching. But here's my favorite one. This is one that actually took a little bit of digging to find. And this one's got me hot too. I'm getting hot tonight. The worst is a 6-to-1 match with federal money. And what they say they want is to encourage the grassroots voter to donate. So for example, this is that star I was talking about either, specific task action result. For example, if you donate $200, you'll be matched at a 6-to-1. So $1,200 of federal money will then be added to your $200. That's now a $1,400 donation to that candidate. You are paying for other candidates that you have no idea who they are and you do not support. How at all would anybody support this? Oh, because one side generally gets more grassroots donations than the other side. So that's not a power grab. That's not going to pay for liberal and Democrat politicians with federal money. That's not going to happen whatsoever. And they say they're going to pay for some BS tax, which I could give you the name of, but nobody cares because it's going to be a shell game when it comes down to that money at all. This is their way of getting everyone in the country to essentially fund their candidates. It's absolutely terrible. One more I want to talk about quickly, and we're kind of running out of time. We had a lot to talk about tonight when it came to COVID. I'm sorry, when it came to CPAC, because we had such a good time while you were there. Well, I want to hit this one as well, the COVID relief bill. This is one that they don't want you talking about. And I got to hit this real quick. Joe Biden put out a $1.9 trillion bill that he wanted voted on. One person gets to go, $1.9 trillion, now go take it to your subcommittees and divvy it up. Why am I bringing up that Joe Biden brought up $1.9 trillion? Because I want to play for you cut one. Juan, please play for me cut one real quick.
All the way in the back, blue sweater.
Special interest groups and the pervasiveness in Washington, D.C. really bother me. Do they bother you?
They bother me a lot, and that's why I only have raised $10 million. It's kind of a problem, you know what I mean? Look, folks, you all heard the question. Special interest groups in Washington and lobbyists bother them. Lobbyists aren't bad people. Special interest groups are not bad people. But guess what? They're corrosive. People who accept the money from them aren't bad people, but it's human nature. You go out, Lynn, and bundle $250,000 for me, all legal, and then you call me after I'm elected and say, Joe, I'd like to come and talk to you about something. You didn't buy me, but it's human nature. You helped me. I'm going to say, sure, Lynn, come on in.
Sure, come on in. I got $1.9 trillion to spend. Come on in. You gave me $250,000. It's just natural. Man, this is pretty useful. Pretty useful when you've had people donate to you. They don't own you. They didn't buy you. That's from 2008, by the way. That's from 2008. Take a look at the way he talked then versus how he talks now. And you're going to tell me he had a stutter? And you're going to try to say it's empowering that he has a stutter? That man is losing it. This man is absolutely losing it. But that man has also said that he's going to see those people who gave up that money. Pretty useful when you got $1.9 trillion to spend, when the unemployment's at 6.3% for the nation, less than 5% for any state that's still open right now. And you're trying to spend $1.9 trillion as if this thing just kicked off and everybody's sitting at home right now. Pretty useful when you owe, not you owe because that would be wrong, but when you have these donors that are looking for some money. I want to hit on that one again. That was a nice little nugget that I found that I wanted to get out today. One more time, I want to thank everyone who was here over here on my social media site, everyone that was here. A big thank you to everyone at CPAC. We have a lot to show you. Please go over to Right America Media on Facebook, Right America Media on YouTube. Check out your boy. Here's my 2 cents on Facebook. I'm going to take this show and some of my interviews and put them up there for you. We have a lot more to talk about. I've run out of time for tonight. Juan said I couldn't carry an hour. I see him squirming right now because I'm right up against it. But with all that being said, that's been my 2 cents on Distract and Conquer.